Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is 7th February 2020. Day is Friday. We have very interesting articles on our table. The first one that we are going to talk about is For a Data Firewall. This is an editorial on data protection, and we are going to talk about some important things that are not mentioned here in this editorial. But before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses. Dear friends, our pen drive and tablet courses are designed by the best faculties of our country. We have covered so many important competitive exams as well, and with the help of our pen drive and tablet courses, there are thousands of students out there. They have cracked various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. In case if you have any question, queries, doubts regarding it, you can give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. To download the PDF of today's lecture, you have two sources. The first one is my FB page and the second one is my Telegram channel. Dear friends, I humbly request all of you to share this lecture with other students. If you have learned something from today's discussion, don't forget to hit the like button and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. So let's start our discussion on For a Data Firewall. Now there is a cybersecurity firm of Germany, and this firm claims that medical details of millions of Indian patients were leaked and even today are freely available on the internet, and this is a matter of concern. The reason is that this data can be misused for phishing. And the data that I'm talking about here, or this German company is talking about, is pertaining to your medical reports, your MRIs, your X-rays, and so many things, So there are so many people out there, there are so many companies out there, they know exactly which disease you are suffering from, what are the things you may need in future, So they can target you, they can, on your social media accounts and other places, they can sell their products and services without you even knowing it. It will always be there around you. So this is, again, a sort of misuse of your data. They're using your data to sell their products. Second thing, just imagine a person receiving a call from a fake hospital, and the person over the phone is claiming that you are suffering from this disease, you have gone through this many treatments or operations or etc. Now we want you to come to hospital as soon as possible. We have let's say next week we have this many dates, or this slots are available, so you have to book your slot, or else the next test will be after next month. I'm just giving you a rough example, like how people fall in. Once you have, once this people, they have your data, then they can misuse it in this way. So they will keep you in a very tight corner. They will first of all generate fear in you regarding your disease or the disease which you had, and then they will ask you to make a payment for your booking. They will send you a link, fake pages, and in today's world everything is possible. You can quickly generate a page of a hospital. A fake link can be generated. You will make all the payments, and then you think that you have booked your date with a hospital, and when you reach hospital you find that nothing like that. You don't need anything like that. Means there's nothing like that from that hospital. It was all a big setup. So this is what phishing is all about. They can misuse your identity as well. So these are the things that can happen with millions of people of our country, because this data is freely available. Now, one of the main reasons why this data is freely available is because in our country, our medical professionals, their servers, they don't use this picture archiving and communication systems. They don't have any sort of security protection. So this data gets leaked very easily, and this is misused by so many exploiters out there. Now, it's not just about medical data. When it comes to Aadhaar, we know the controversy. I'm sure you'd be aware about this election card controversy as well. Like data from Aadhaar as well as Election Commission. of our country was available, online, and it became a big controversy. And one of the main reason again why we see this sort of things in our country, because in our country we don't have a comprehensive legal framework to protect data privacy. Now, as far as I know, right, the European Union has a strongest data protection law, and there are so many big companies, they are fined. Google, Facebook, there are other big names as well. They have been, slapped with heavy penalties and other things. They have to change the way they are, collecting data, because the European Union has designed a very strong law when it comes to this. I think on number 2 is USA, but the strongest, the best, as of today, is laws when it comes to this data protection or privacy is with European Union. So there are, there are opportunities out there. We can learn so many things from European Union's data protection law, and then we can make a little bit of customization and we can implement or replicate those laws in our country. Now, remember this name here. It's a very important name. Justice B.N. Sri Krishna. A committee, Sri Krishna Committee, was formed, and this committee basically drafted this Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. This recommendations or the work of this committee was handed over to Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology back in 2018. And this committee or this draft has clearly, you can say, distinguished. It has codified the relationship between the individuals and the firms. You have data principles. Those person, like individuals or group, people or an individual whose information is collected. And then you have collectors like data fiduciaries, those processing the data, those collecting your data. So responsibilities, particularly on data fiduciaries, is clearly defined. The bill tasks the fiduciary to seek the consent, right? You have to clearly ask the person, this data principles. You have to clearly ask them, like, you are collecting their data, what are the uses that you are going to, this data, how you will use it, you will share it with third party or not. Everything should be clearly stated. So far things are good, but recently, I'm just telling you about 2-3 days ago, Justice Sri Krishna, he was not happy about this changes that are been made by Government of India in this recommendations. The first red flag is this thing that sadly this new bill has removed the proviso from the 2018 version of the bill that said selling or transferring sensitive personal data by the fiduciary to a third party is an offense. So the latest change is that let's say someone has access to your data or someone has collected your data with your consent. Now this company can sell your data to a third party. That company will sell that data to another person. So it will become free. So this is a big red flag. Government should think about it. The second thing is state institutions. That means government. This is again a second red flag, that government can collect your data. They don't have any sort of barriers. They can use your data. They can go through your data. Even if that data is a very personal, critical data, then as well government can go through it. So this is again a big red flag. So what we need is a proper, comprehensive Data Protection Act. And as I told you recently, Justice B.N. Sri Krishna is also not happy about this new Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. And he has even claimed that this move of government, that the state or government can collect your data, will not survive the scrutiny of Supreme Court, because remember, it was, just in recent past, last year, Supreme Court defined, I think it was in 2018, right to privacy judgment, remember? And can you give me the name of that privacy judgment? What is the name of that particular judgment? It's a very famous name, so I want you guys to think about it and stick your answer in the comment section. So Justice Sri Krishna has said that this new amendment by the government will not stand the test of privacy. I mean, it is going to fail. So government should, get rid of these two red flags that are here. Moving on to next item, dear friends. This one is about complicating the tax regime further. Now here you have on the front foot, this one is about the sixth and the last bi-monthly policy. RBI has kept this repo rate unchanged. And dear friends, of course, this article, this editorial, it is having few points here, but I want to discuss this particular item in more in-depth fashion. And what I have decided that I am going to take this on the front foot, and there are so many other informations that I would like to add on and to discuss this thing, as I told you, in an in-depth fashion in daily financial news analysis lecture of the day. So today evening around 5 p.m. you will find this daily financial news analysis lecture. And we are going to talk about it in detail. So this is the reason I'm not taking this particular item on board. So I invite all of you to watch this daily financial news analysis video of today, that is of 7th February 2020. We are now going to talk about complicating the tax regime further. Now, the recent budget, interesting fact about this latest budget is that Nirmala Sitharaman ji delivered the longest budget speech in the history of independent India. Ms. Sitharaman announced what she claimed was a move to provide significant relief to individual taxpayers by simplifying the income tax law. Now, if we go through this article, we find that there are so many faults, as well as when it comes to this new system, this new regime, where you have two options, is not going to help our country. It's not going to help the household saving. It's not going to help insurance industry. How? We are going to talk about it now. What Nirmala ji has said, that the relief will be in the form of lower tax rates, for which individuals will have to give up on the exemptions they enjoy under the existing regime. So here the government is offering two different modes. One is you stick with the old slabs. Here you will get exemptions, but the rates are a bit higher. And the new regime, there will be no exemptions. You have to, you will not get benefit of any exemptions, but the rates are lower. So you can choose the best thing for you. Now, the simplification of the income tax law, the finance minister said, will benefit both SSCs and the SSS. Of course, I think it will benefit the SSS or the government, but I think it's going to be very difficult and complicated for SSCs. Now, in essence, the government decided to give a small section of taxpayers an opportunity to pocket more money. If you are choosing the new system, then you will not get as I told you, exemptions, but you can save more money because you will be paying less tax. But there are few red flags or issues here. The thing is that you won't get benefit of saving instruments like the old system. You can, if you purchase or get yourself health insurance, let's say you have to pay 1 lakh rupees tax this year, let's say, right? If you are purchasing 15,000 rupees worth insurance policy, then you will get exemption. So you have to pay now 85,000 only because you have purchased this insurance. Then you get other benefits as well. There are some technical things. You don't have to go into it. Just a health insurance example is more than enough. So now government is not ready to give you this sort of exemptions as well. Now it's a sort of it's a irony that on one side government is trying to issue or trying to increase the stake of private players in this LIC. It's going to come out with this IPO. On the other hand, if you're purchasing insurance policy, you will not get this benefit or this tax regime. Then real estate, normally if people are buying houses for themselves, then this is going to help our economy. If you get a loan for yourself, and if you are working for a company, if you are if you have a job, basically, if you're not a professional, or means professionals as well as those business business people, they get so many exemptions. But when it comes to jobs, right, working people, or when I say working, I'm talking about those who are in this job sector, they will not get benefit of house loan, so in new regime or new system. So that is also not going to help the economy, as well as it will not encourage people to use this new system. Now, as far as this making things easier is concerned, right, it's going to increase the work, right? It's going to double the amount of work, because you have to compare both systems and then you have to take a decision. So it's going to take, huge amount of your time and energy. Another factor complicating the taxpayers' filing process is that it isn't clear now which exemption will be scrapped in near term and which one will be scrapped in long term or will continue in for long term. The second important issue with the new tax system is that it removes all incentives to save in an economy. As I told you, household saving rates will come down, and at present we are going through this slowdown phase anyway. And Mr. Narendra Modi is, can I say, big fan of Richard Thaler. Richard Thaler is an economist, Nobel-winning behavioral economist. He gave us this nudge theory, remember? So on one side, government is trying to nudge people to do good things, and when I say good things, I'm basically talking about making our country a bit more beautiful, a bit more secure, a bit more economically rich. And on one side, you are creating this sort of situation where people will not be able to save for their retirement as well. Now, in America, in UK, because of this Richard Thaler's nudge theory, there are so many people. They have their retirement funds. They are contributing for their retirement money. But in our country, government is trying to take away that thing from our people. And here again, this is again a very interesting thing about this article, is that this figure is also important for you. This fact is important for you, that in our country, out of total population, only 2.5% population falls under this taxpayers category. 2.5. And out of total population, 60% population is associated with agriculture and allied activities. They don't have to pay any tax on it. So rather than paying too much attention to this 2.5% population, government should have done something about the 60% population by allocating more in MG Narega and PM Kisan. Moving on to next item, we have done with this too. Now we are going to talk about reducing custodial debts. Again, a very interesting article. It's a very sad fact here that a person called Pradeep Tomar, back on 13th October 2019, he rushed with his 10-year-old boy to a police station in Uttar Pradesh. And he was there because he was working for a security company. He was basically a security guard, and he was beaten so badly that he died. And this was a custodial death. And he was, the most brutal part is that he was tortured by this policeman in front of his 10-year-old boy. When Thomas' condition deteriorated, he was rushed to hospital where he died, and FIR was registered against the 4 policemen after this NHRC took a stand. Earlier last year, Delhi court sentenced 5 UP policemen to 10 years rigorous imprisonment for torturing a man to death in custody in 2006. The 5 policemen had abducted the victim on suspicion of his involvement in a car robbery and tortured him in custody. And they manipulated report, and this sort of things are not that you can say rare in our country. It means torture, beating people, this is something that is very common in our country when it comes to policing. And I'm not saying that each and every police personnel is a bad person, but these are our realities as well that we have to keep in our mind, and we need some serious improvement in this thing. Now, you'd be wondering why we have this sort of thing. On one side, we have constitution, we have fundamental rights, we have freedoms and freedom of speech and expression, and we read about all these big articles and big cases. On the other side, we have this sort of things as well. The main reason is, I would say, the structure and culture. culture and structure of policing or police in our country. Police is basically all this. If you see the uniform, their training, right, their ranking, different ranks you have, the way senior officers or IPS officers and your state level officers, the way they treat constables and subordinates, even today you have to use those salutes and other things, means those things are outdated now. We don't need those sort of things, right? But then as well, these sort of things are there, and there are so many things. I'm sure you will also, if you think about it, and I'm sure you have also experienced so many things and observed so many negative things about police in our country. But again, I must say that there are so many good policemen as well, policemen and policewomen, of course, and they are doing great job. But still, we cannot ignore this fact that it's not a perfect system. In fact, we have very few people who we can proudly say that they are good police personnel. And I'm not blaming individuals, I'm talking about culture and structure. The reason why I'm clarifying this thing is we have to understand the main cause of the problem. The main reason is colonial hangover. The whole policing in our country was designed by British Raj, and it was designed in such a way to keep a strong control of the population of our country. But unfortunately, even after independence, what we did is we just, carried forward that culture, carried forward that structure. And the most horrid part is that we are still using that same structure with a little bit of changes here and there. We are still using the same structure even today. So this is the most, you can say, horrid thing. And if you don't change this culture and structure, nothing is going to change. You can change the color of uniform, but if the culture and structure is going to be the same, then nothing will happen. If we go through this verdict of, or the statement of Justice Sanjeev Kumar Malhotra, he said, the police play a major role in the administration of criminal justice. One of the reasons for custodial death is that the police feel that they have a power to manipulate evidence, as the investigation is their prerogative, and with such manipulated evidence, they can bury the truth. He also added, they are confident that they will not be held accountable even if the victim dies in the custody and even if the truth is relieved. And this is a sad reality. Now, the Central Bureau of Investigation, the apex agency, CBI, we know the reputation of CBI, and it's very sad to know that CBI is also using this torture as a method of investigation. B.K. Bansal, Director General of Corporate Affairs, and his son Yogesh committed suicide back in September 2016. And not only this, two members of one family, B.K. Bansal's wife as well as daughter too, committed suicide because of this torture. Can you believe this thing? And unfortunately, those officers who were involved, means in suicide note, this two men have clearly listed the names of the officers who had tortured their family in connections with a case of disproportionate assets. The agency, that CBI, exonerated all the accused. Custodial deaths have been on rise in our country. It was 92 in 2016, 100 in 2017. Now, Supreme Court has delivered a historic order back in 2006 on police reforms. 7 police reforms were delivered by Supreme Court. Can you give me the name of that IPS officer who filed a case or a plea in Supreme Court, and because of that plea, this judgment, this police reform judgment was delivered? Can you give me the name of that officer? If you can find the name, then do study a little bit about these 7 reforms as well, particularly for those students who are preparing for UPSC exam as well as State Public Service Commission exams. Now, in this Supreme Court's judgment, one of the reform is that each and every state should have a police complaints authority where a citizen can file a complaint against a policeman for any act of misdemeanor. But unfortunately, only few states, Kerala, Jharkhand, Haryana, Punjab and Maharashtra, they have implemented this thing. And until and unless we don't see a practical exemplary punishment meted out at those policemen who are responsible for custodial, that things are not going to change. And most important thing, as I told you, we have to change the culture and structure of our policing system. Then we have a very interesting article, listening to the call of the informal. Generally, when GST was introduced, or before introduction of GST, one unique point about, or USP of GST, means it was been said by the government that it will increase formalization of our economy. Even after demonetization as well, it was said that it will bring informal sector into formal sector. And generally we believe that formalization is all good, it has all benefits. But is it true? We are going to find out about it. Like, why government should not push for formalization, why we need to have informal companies as well in our country. We are going to find out answers about this question from this listening to the call of the informal. Now, a week after budget, it is clear that the successive policies of the government over the years have left the informal sector stigmatized. Rules and regulations to push formalization has not helped our informal companies. If you go through this research paper of Seema Jayachandra of National Bureau of Economic Research, she argues that there is no strong evidence from studies conducted in many developing countries that formalization improves business outcomes. Santosh Malhotra of International Labour Organization calls formalization an evolutionary process, like it should happen naturally. Step by step the company will head towards formalization. But if you are forcing it, right, then it is not going to benefit that company. So who benefits from formalization? Why government is pushing it? It benefits banks. Banks will have your documents and papers and your past history and everything ready. So it will become bit easier for the banks, or I would say much easier for the banks to take a decision whether to give you money or not. It becomes easier for the state or the government as well to monitor and to tax your business. So these are two parties that will benefit from formalization. As far as this small company is concerned, it will not benefit because cost will go up. In India, which currently faces an unemployment problem, the informal sector provides the vast majority of opportunities both for its youth and for the people coming off from farm to earn incomes. Do you know the thing, when it comes to manufacturing, 90% of our population is working in micro, small and medium enterprises. 90%. I'm talking about manufacturing sector. And most of our MSMEs are in informal sector. Now, if you are trying to push formalization in this MSMEs, what will happen is they will be forced to shut down because their costs will go up. Their workload when it comes to taxing and accounting and bookkeeping and everything will go up, and so many people will lose their job. India's policymakers need to look at the demerits of formalization from the perspective of informal sector enterprises. One more thing, that when it comes to training, means formalization in formal companies, if you join Tata, then you know that you will go through your induction period, and then you will go through your training period, and then you will start your work in an informal environment. You join the company, if you are a good fit, then you will be taken on board, then you will make your mistakes and you will learn. So it's all about trial and error. The more you work, the better you will get with it. You'll be doing multiple things in an informal setup. You will not be doing just one thing. You have to do multiple things, but your skills will improve as well. So there are so many benefits too associated with informal work, and it will increase your soft skills. A business, just like human beings, we have soft skills like good communication, team working, and all these things are soft skills. The same way business as well has soft skills, getting along with other businesses, creating your own environment and your network and all these things. So apart from these hard skills like keeping your books and finance and other things, soft skills are also important. Now, if cost will go up, then government is trying to inculcate formalization, and government is thinking that by doing this thing, our small companies, small firms will become part of this global supply chain. But on the contrary, we may lose our portion, or we may not become part of this global supply chain, because formalization will lead to increase in wages and costs. And why global companies are coming to us or can come to us? If we can provide good quality of job, good quality of product with low prices, then of course we are going to be very attractive, isn't it? But if you are pushing formalization, you are basically increasing the cost. So we may lose big business. The thrust of the Indian government's policies should not be to reduce the size of informal sector, but it should focus on improving working conditions of our citizens who are working in this condition or in this sector basically. Do you know that in our country, only 7% out of the total this job sector people or population, only 7% is in formal sector. 93% people who are doing jobs, they are working in informal sector. So we need to think about their safety, safety at work, health and safety, insurance, their dignity. Are they getting fair pay, fair treatment? These are the things that government should focus on, rather than paying too much attention on bookkeeping and formalization of business and other things. And so far what has happened is the government has paid too much attention from bureaucratic point of view, like things that will make the job of bureaucrats and business and government easier when it comes to enterprises, rather than looking at the issue from small and medium enterprises point of view. So government should focus on health insurance and availability of health services for people working in this informal sector. If we want to do labor reforms, then we have to, as I told you, right, how our laborers in this informal sector are being looked after. Do they get retirement options? Like options, when I'm saying, I'm talking about like a fixed income after retirement. Are they saving their money? These are the things that we need to work on, rather than pushing formalization. So that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. On your screen you can see a list of news items. Help yourself with it. You can download the PDF of today's lecture. Once you download, then you can go through these news items either from Hindu newspaper or any other newspaper of your choice, but do go through these news items. These are important items, and I will see you today with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.